Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast coming to you Monday. Whoa, yeah, Monday it is. Monday, August 18th, 2025. It is a rare Monday. I am recording. I got a little bit of window here. My wife's out to dinner with her girlfriends, so I got a little bit of window to record the podcast here. We got a lot to get to on the show. We have a lot to get to this week, as my phone is actually acting like the drizzling shit right now. There we go. Siri popped up on no. I don't know why that happened. It's been a very adventurous, if you say, weekend, if you will, in some ways, respects. But I've been really frustrated a lot last couple. To be honest, I've been frustrated at the situation the last, I think we could say, almost 3 months now. You guys know I rent my place I live at currently. It's a rental place. And we're happy here. We've been here 7 years. It's great. Our kids go to school nearby. We love the area. We love the place. We love where we live at. We love everything's convenient. And it's been good to us. The company that runs the place for the most part. Now, granted, we've had, I think to my count, we've had 3 different management changes though in the 7 years I've been here. So it probably explains why I'm a little bit frustrated here. I'm gonna get to that point in a second. And it's been good for the most part. But lately, I know we just renewed our lease actually about 2 months ago. Although it goes into effect actually this month. I've been frustrated because there's things happening in the house where obviously when you rent, you're not responsible. Things that break, you're not responsible for that. Which is one of the things I love about renting is that I love that I'm not very handy. I'm going to call it right now. I'm not very handy. So therefore, because I'm not handy, there are things obviously that I cannot fix on my own. And because there's a maintenance crew here, you obviously something breaks down, you call the maintenance crew, they come and fix it. And that's just that. But lately, they have been slacking off like nothing else. To the point where when I call them to get something done, they don't get it done. Okay, so when we renewed our lease back in June rather, I had told our project manager that, listen, we have a couple things here that we need to get fixed that we've been trying to get fixed for a while. And they said, listen, and normally when we send things out, we send it in separate requests, recommendations, whatever. So the project manager said, listen, go ahead and put everything on, rather than separate everything else, put it all in one email, put it all one request into one specific email, send it to us, and we'll get to it. So we sent that in early June. We are now sitting in late August, or close to late August, and none of the things have gotten done. On top of that, we have 2 new things that pop up this past week. Last week, my garbage disposal in my kitchen stopped working. I put a request for it immediately. Nobody showed up. And then Friday, in my kitchen, my dishwasher stopped working, which we believe is connected also to the garbage disposal not working as well. So now I'm frustrated. So I'm happy living here, having a good time living here, but now I'm frustrated. You know, I pay my rent. You know, I pay rent all the time. I'm a good resident. No, I'll be cocky. I'm a great resident. You know, I keep my area clean. You know, we do a good job. But shit has not been getting done in my house as of late. If I'm paying X amount of dollars of rent to live here, the least you can do is fix my shit. Fix the things I need to get fixed. And that has not been happening. So finally, my wife called today, and told him, listen, we've had all this request in, and I had to work today, so I didn't have a chance to talk. We have all this request in, and we need to get this done. We need to get this fixed. She called also about the dishwasher and the garbage disposal, and by the grace of God, they came by today and fixed that part. But everything else, they said they have to wait. Wait, how much longer? I've been waiting for some of these things for months. I put a request in twice, okay, this summer. Repeated requests to get certain things fixed. It hasn't gotten done. It is frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating to me that we can't get this shit done. And I don't know if they're short staffed. I don't know if the people are sick. I don't know what it is. But it's become very, very frustrating for me to keep waiting for people to fix things when that's your job. And not only that, I'm still paying rent on time. You're not deducting my rent. That's the thing. I mean, one thing you deduct my rent, and I get it. That's not happening. That's not happening. I'm still paying the same things I would have paid before, and I don't like feeling this way. 1 second. What's up, buddy? I'm recording. Hurry up. What's up?
I need water.
Go ahead and make water then. Go ahead. Goodbye. All right, back to the show. So, look, at least the big thing we needed, the garbage disposal, the dishwasher. Well, we'll see dishwasher soon. I haven't used it yet, but I imagine the dishwasher will start working. So by the way, the dishwasher start working on Friday because it started leaking, which we believe is caused by the garbage disposal. So hopefully, I run that thing tonight or tomorrow, and hopefully that thing will be normal again. So it's been a frustrating weekend on that end for that situation. Also frustrating because Friday night, my wife and I cleaning. We're getting ready for our trip to New York next week. So my wife's, panicking, cleaning the house. We're dusting the house, doing our summer cleaning. Kids back in school. We were dusting on Friday night. And you guys know, it doesn't just show for years, you know that I have really bad allergies. For some reason, my dumb ass didn't wear a mask or whatever. Wasn't prepared for this. I guess dust got up my nose again. And it was bad. It was horrible. My nose clogged up so fast. I couldn't breathe. I went to take a bath to try to ease off the congestion. It helped a little bit, but it was bad. And here's the worst thing about allergy attacks too. Also, when you get that, for me especially, is that it saps you with so much energy after a while that you feel like you're just dying. The next day, I wake up to go to work. I feel the most sluggish I've ever felt in my life. I mean, sluggish. I'm not even sick. And I know it's the allergy. I know it's the allergies. And this is also after having the meds. And by the way, the meds I took wasn't not drowsy meds, for the record. But I go to work on Saturday. I'm feeling, absolutely like just gone and drained. And I got to work on my busiest shift of the week. It was tough. It was absolutely tough. So, and I've been feeling the effects of it even up to now. All week long, feeling the effects of it. It's been tough. I have to make sure from now on, when my wife and I decide to dust the house, from now on, I need to start wearing a mask. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because every time I make the mistake of dusting the house with her, I make the mistake of not protecting my face, and I pay for it dearly. Okay? And granted, we haven't dusted the house in a while. We've been very busy, working crazy schedules. I'm working a lot. She's working a lot. And then we when we have time together, we're just exhausted. But yeah, that I need to make sure that if I'm going to be dusting going forward, from now until the rest of my life, I need to wear a mask without question. Just that simple. So that was the situation there, in terms of my weekend. So it's been a. I don't want to complain and say it's been a bad weekend, because I've actually got a lot done this weekend. I worked a lot this weekend, worked extra, making extra money, preparing for the trip next week on vacation, which is why I'm preparing. This week on the podcast will be a very, very busy week for the podcast. We got a lot of episodes planned. This one coming on Monday. We got another one coming tomorrow. Tomorrow we're recording our NFL season preview with my boys Zach and Chris, our annual season preview, which also is 2 episodes. Normally we do the over-unders, win totals for one episode. The other episode is ranking all the quarterbacks in the league. And that we'll probably release that one probably next week, most likely. But then we have, I record a couple episodes a week on to the Wrestling Retro Pods. I recorded SummerSlam 2000, what was that I recorded this weekend? 15 with Robert Genius. And I recorded also another SummerSlam throwback episode, retro podcast that we did as well. I'm sorry, it wasn't SummerSlam. It was actually the Great American Bash, which we'll be dropping this week. And of course, all the normal content we drop on this feed every so often. So we have a busy week of content coming this week. Interviews, conversations, positive of my own. We're getting ready for next week while I'm on vacation. I'm hoping to have some episodes lined up for you guys to drop while I'm away anyway. Because you know how it is. You know how it is on this podcast during the fall. When football is back, when football is absolutely back, it is nuts. And when football is back, it is the number one priority, and I am content crazy with football. So, having said that, I am, look at the name of this episode today, I am going to be putting myself on a schedule for a while, for now anyway. And what I mean by that is, it's not just the podcast schedule, it's also the schedule for myself, because there's a lot of things I need to do, not just professionally, but also I need to put myself on a schedule for things to do personally. I need to get back to going to the gym. I need to go back to eating healthy again. I need to get back to making sure that I'm feeding my body the right things, both mind, body, and soul. So one of the things I've started testing now is, I don't do this often enough. I know this once in a while, but I don't do it often enough. Is I don't space out times and use some of these episodes I do to release on days I don't record. I'm trying to find a way to make a recording schedule where it's conducive to my lifestyle, where I'm not killing myself, burning myself out. If it means I record 2 or 3 in one day and the days I'm home, but I do avoid recording during the weekends and other days where I'm with family. So I'm really trying to find a real good way to do that while staying on top of my priorities, while also staying on top of the commitments I have, not just on this show, on this feed for you guys, but also with the things I do with my day job. I do a weekly podcast every Wednesday. I get paid for a sports show every Wednesday, and that requires production and research and and all that stuff that goes into it. It also requires a lot of other commitments as well. Also, as well as the Huddle Up podcast on Tuesdays. I do every Tuesday night during the football season. I'm committed to that as well too. Which obviously that will be, this year might be a little spotty because of commitments I have on this end with my family, and not only that, I also have commitments to my family as well too. But the main goal is to make sure I am on top of things on a personal level, on a professional level, and I'm trying to be able to hopefully utilize this podcast feed and utilize the podcast flexibility, especially too. Because here's the thing: not all shows we do here are not every show is evergreen. A lot of shows are evergreen. The retro pods can be used to plug in holes on days I'm not recording. And some of the shows we do here, like we talk about here, like some of these solo shows I do, are not very evergreen either. Now some of them are evergreen. So it depends on how we use that. So I am going to hopefully put out a schedule. Well, I'm going to put out a schedule. I'll probably, you guys will just see that. You guys will just see how organized I'll be in the next couple of weeks. You probably won't even see it until my vacation is over. And honestly, you probably won't see it after Labor Day when we leave into week 1 of the NFL season. Because as you know, we have the EJ vs. Degenerate comes back. We have Student Game Report. Once again, another show that'll probably spy this year because of Kyle. Kyle already said that he won't be able to commit to every week, but he'll try. So, yes, it's going to be a very, very different year for the podcast, but it will still be good. We'll still put out a lot of good content, and we will go from there. So I was at work today, and football's coming back, and this is why all my coworkers and friends we're talking about all this stuff about football related stuff, and the topic today of Lamar Jackson and the MVP race last year came up again. Now, last year, MVP, Josh Allen won it. I defended on the show that Josh Allen deserved it. Now, having said that, I've always said that Lamar Jackson had the better season, without question. But what did I say when Josh Allen won it? What did I say? That the reason Josh Allen won it was for the very same reason, the very same way that Lamar Jackson won it the year before that. In other words, Josh Allen come into last year, had a much worse team. His Bills team coming into last year, on paper, was worse than the team that he had the year before that, and yet won more games. He carried more. He carried more of a more luggage. You want to call that? He carried that team more, in my opinion. Whereas Lamar Jackson, from the year before that, when he won MVP, ended up having a better team by adding a Derrick Henry and some other pieces to his team. And yet Baltimore, now Lamar was fantastic, but the Ravens actually lost 2 more games last year than the year before that, with a better team on paper. Buffalo had a better record than them last year, and that's that. And I said to my friend that he says that it's a conspiracy, that the NFL wanted Josh Allen to win the MVP, and this, that. And here's the thing. Everything he says there actually has some merit there, in my opinion. I think there's something to be said about that. But the simple reason why Josh Allen won the MVP last year was simple. Better record, number one. Okay? And compared speaking to the seasons that he had before, his team was worse on paper, and yet the team did better. Less is more. So that's why he won the MVP. Hell, I can argue also too that Joe Burrow had a better year than Josh Allen last year. But there's no way in hell they're going to give Joe Burrow an MVP missing the playoffs with a 9-8 record. That was just not going to happen on any form, any type of situation. That was not going to happen. So, and you'll see that despite Josh Allen winning the MVP, and for the record, I'll play spoiler here because that episode will come out next week on the feed. When we do our rankings, we're recording tomorrow. Lamar Jackson, number one quarterback, my number one quarterback in the league right now, coming to the year, for everything I said there. But Josh Allen won MVP because of all the things I said. Okay, and that's just that. It's really just that simple, Speaking of quarterbacks, I finished the Netflix quarterback series season 2. Covered Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, and Joe Burrow. Another good series. I finished season 1 was really good. Season 2 was good. Kirk Cousins was on both seasons. Yeah, I gotta tell you, Kirk Cousins is a very likable guy. Corny as he may be, Kirk Cousins is a likable guy. He's a guy I would hang out with. God-fearing, family man. Just keeps his life simple while stealing money. That dude's made a lot of money being a relatively average, above average quarterback to his career. He's a good quarterback. You're wrong. He's a good quarterback, not a Hall of Famer, but a good quarterback. Made a lot of money. You have Joe Burrow, who, by the way, even more appreciation on Joe Burrow now, watching him on there. That dude is lethal. Jared Goff is the one I was most impressed by, I'll be honest with you. Jared Goff, number one, gorgeous wife, number one, SI model. Detroit Lions, easy to root for. But yeah, Jared Goff was impressive. Very, very good. Seeing the story last year, Lions, of course, going to the playoffs, winning 15 games, then losing in shocking fashion to Washington in the playoff game, divisional round last year. Yeah, Joe Burrow and the Bengals missing the playoffs. They're starting slow and made a late run late last year, and then ultimately didn't make it because they needed help to win on week 18 rather. You had Kirk Cousins lose his job to Michael Penix Jr. That was all on display on the documentary. He handled it with class. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Worth the watch. Also watched WWE Unreal as well on Netflix. 5-episode series where they really go inside baseball on how the cake is created, how the cake is made in wrestling. Kayfabe is over, guys. We know that WWE, pro wrestling it's scripted. and they show you exactly how they make the decisions they make, the booking decisions they make, Triple H, the wrestlers, seeing the stories behind there. I want to go into much detail right now, because I don't want to cover this. I don't want to cover this entire series with Rob on the False Count pod soon. He needs to finish watching it first when we get there. But I'll tell you right now, my favorite stories on there was Chelsea Green and seeing her story. I think Chelsea Green's fantastic. Chelsea Green is fantastic. She's a throwback to my era, old school. Love watching her. Love seeing her play her role, and then seeing also the how they created the whole John Cena turn. What went into it? They explained how the creative got into that, and how they kept that very inner circle of only 5 or 6 people who knew how to do the John Cena turn. I think it was The Rock. It was obviously Triple H. It was Cena himself. I think 2 other creative guys. Oh, and Cody Rhodes, of course, because he's part of the angle. And then Travis Scott. So another show worth watching. I won't get into it right now. But on the False Count show, when we record next, whether it's this week or next week, I want to review that with Rob on the show. All right. Last thing before I get out of here, I want to do a quick, one of the shorter pods here. So Vince McMahon, speaking of wrestling, has been making some public appearances lately. We've seen him at the Super Bowl earlier this year. He saw some other thing. We got into a big car accident the day Hulk Hogan died. Got into a big car accident. He was featured on a TMZ special titled "The Real Hulk Hogan." During the program, he addressed several topics, including his thoughts on fans booing Hulk Hogan during his final televised appearance for WWE on the Raw. McMahon expressed anger about the crowd's reaction, stating that Hogan deserves better treatment for his immense contributions to the wrestling world. Which I agree with the record. He did deserve better, but of course, we'll get into why they booed him. He also defended his decision to bring Hogan back to WWE after the controversy surrounding Hogan's racist comments in 2015, saying that he knew Hogan was not a racist and that everyone makes mistakes. Again, we covered this on the show. We covered this on False Count. We covered this here. We covered this everywhere possible. I did TikTok on this back in real time when Hogan got booed on the first Raw on Netflix back in January. I explained to you guys. Hulk Hogan was not booed because of his politics. People keep saying it's because of his politics. Hogan says it's because of his politics. No. He was booed because of everything we know about this dude now. Okay? In hindsight. Both things can be right here. We've said this over and over and over and over and over again. I'm going to keep saying it over and over again, even in his grave. Hulk Hogan, to me, is the greatest of all time. Hulk Hogan is the most influential wrestling superstar in the history of the business. Both things can be right here. Also, Hulk Hogan made massive mistakes. He said on record himself, he's a racist. Now, yes, was he in a dark place? Yes. He said he said apologize. Do I accept his apology? I do, personally. But if people don't want to accept his apology, that's their right to do that. Okay? He was booed because of that. It was not the politics. Now, yes, there's some people who probably booed him at the Raw because of politics. But, so what was Undertaker's reason getting cheered that night? Or Triple H. They got cheered, and they both supported Trump. So what? You know what I'm saying? So, no. It wasn't politics. Because of all the politicking and the comments and this and the comments and just the disingenuous nature of Hulk Hogan's why he got booed. Okay? Speaking of racism, too, also, McMahon addressed the 2015 controversy in which race comments made by Hulk were leaked. McMahon said that while Hogan said some racist things, and should pay for that, he doesn't believe Hogan is a racist. He explained, I knew he wasn't a racist. I've been with him for so many years. He wasn't a racist. McMahon noted that when the comments first became public, he was aghast, and WWE immediately severed ties with Hogan and removed him from the Hall of Fame. However, he concluded by saying, we all make mistakes. That was a big one. He wasn't a racist. At this point, it doesn't matter. He's God's problem now. He's God's issue now. If he thinks he's a racist, then you're not going to change your mind. Everybody's going to mourn him in any way they want to do it. And that's fine. But at this point, he's God's issue now. He's dead. We can celebrate Hogan, the wrestler. We can celebrate Hogan, his contribution to the company and to the business. Because damn sure he is the reason why we are here today. I don't have a wrestling podcast without Hulk Hogan. You don't have a wrestling podcast without Hulk Hogan. That's a fact. Okay? He changed the business twice. With the Hulkamania era in the golden era of wrestling, put into the mainstream, and then, of course, turning heel with the NWO in 1996, and the next boom. The Attitude, people always say the Attitude Era was the era that, and granted, Hogan wasn't in WCW at the time. People always credit the the Attitude Era of like, okay, that's where the boom started. No, the boom started with NWO. The Attitude Era was created on the back of WCW killing him in the ratings because of NWO, because of Hulk Hogan, because he's the only guy going to play that role. Bottom line. So Vince, look, he's going to sit and say he's 79 years old. He's out of touch. Is Hogan racist? Again, he's Hogan racist? That's up to you. Do I forgive him? Yeah. Guess what? Doesn't matter anymore. He's dead. He's dead. Doesn't matter anymore. So, but anyway. All right, that's it for me on the podcast. Dated August 18th, 2025. Like I said, big week of podcasts coming this week, so look out for that. Looking for the feed. Again, I am on X at EJ Christian 7. Wrestling podcast, of course, all podcast catchers. Of course, the video side, number one, the YouTube page at Earnestly Pod on YouTube. On TikTok, same thing, Earnestly Pod. Instagram, Earnestly Pod. Until the next episode, we will talk to you guys soon. God bless you guys. Until the next one.